Photoshop exercise 1. So as with the others, download the materials. When you open up that zipped file, you'll see a PDF, two PSD files. PSD is the native file format for Photoshop. So if you open up the PDF, it's going to walk you through this, but just kind of be advised, things have changed so fast in Photoshop that these instructions don't really keep up. So I'm going to talk you through it. We'll probably do things that aren't in the instructions, use tools that didn't exist when these instructions were put together. So, take these with a grain of salt. So if you go to Photoshop, and I'm going to just drag and drop these two icons onto the Photoshop icon. So you've got start and end. This is what we're making. Like a Mr. Potato Head. All right, so we're going to take the elements given and create this. So if you start here, and Photoshop works like the other Adobe programs. Spacebar command gives you zoom. I'm working in looking for my workspace. I'm working in Essentials Default. There's no Essentials is basically where I work with in all the programs. Okay, gives you the most tools. The thing to be aware of with Photoshop, whether you've worked with it in the past or not, Photoshop is pixels based. Illustrator is a vector-based program that's mathematical descriptions. Resolution is not part of the conversation with Illustrator. You can make something as small or as large as possible, and it scales perfectly and reproduces perfectly. Photoshop, being pixels based, which is also called raster or bitmap, means that if you zoom way in on something, you can start to see the little squares involved. Those are pixels. The resolution of the image determines how many pixels are being used to create the image. You can make, if you make an image large enough, the pixels become apparent. So the resolution is a limit to what you can do as far as size. You can always go smaller with no loss in quality, but making things larger, the pixels start to show. Initially it looks fuzzy, and if you enlarge it enough, it just looks jagged, and it's all broken up. So in order to select things in Photoshop, because the program doesn't see these individual elements per se, these are all just pixels. So you need to select an area of pixels for the program to work on something. So we're going to just work within this document, and then we'll clean it up at the end. So this initial shape is going to stay, and we're going to assemble on top of that. So we'll start with the eye. So the eye is going to be a carrot with a blueberry in the center. So since these are round, we can use the elliptical marquee. The marquee is anything that's inside of that marquee selects, but only that portion. It doesn't select the whole object like Illustrator when you just click on part of it. So if I use the elliptical marquee, I'm going to zoom in on this. And we're going to start with the blueberry. It's easier for me to find the center of an object than to try to guess where the corner might be. If I click and drag across, it's hard for me to get that to be close. And if I guess where the center is, I'm usually pretty close to that. So if you hold down the Option key, it pulls from the center outward. Once you start pulling, and you then hold down the Shift key, it makes it a perfect circle, or square, depending which tool you're using. Let go of the mouse first, and now those pixels are selected. In order to do anything with those, in order to move them, you use the Move tool. So this is not a selection tool like in Illustrator or InDesign. This is the Move tool. Once pixels are selected, then I can move them. So I'm going to center that within the caret, and I can bump it with the arrow keys. And then when I'm happy, I can deselect it. And now that's all one. If I were to move this blueberry now, it would look just like this does here. There would be no pixels underneath it. It replaces the orange pixels. This checkerboard pattern indicates transparency, so there's nothing there. All right, so I'm going to use the elliptical again. Start in the center here. Pull it. Now that's selected. I'm going to slide this over, zoom out so I can get it in on screen. Go back to the Move tool, and now I can drag that in place. And just use your best judgment where that belongs. Now, just like in Illustrator, I can clone a selection. It's not an object. In Illustrator, you clone an object, but this is a selection in Photoshop. Same key combination, Move tool, hold down the Option key, click and drag, and you've got a second one. If you hold down the Shift key, it'll constrain it to staying on the same horizontal line or vertical line that you started with. Let go of the mouse first. So that's the eyes. I can deselect. It's committed. All right, so this is where we start to differ from the instructions. You used to have to use the lasso tool to select this shape for the nose. Now with the object selection tool, no, it's not going to get us there. I can try the magic wand. I'm going to zoom in. Shift key to add to a selection. So that's a lot quicker than using the magic wand. Back to the Move tool. Bring that in. Now, if I want to change the size of something, that's considered transforming it. So if I go to Edit, Transform, I can scale it, or I can go to Free Transform, which allows me to rotate, scale, and move something. So in order to scale it, go to the corner. Again, if I want to scale it proportionally, hold down the Shift key. If I wanted to scale it, so we're there. Now I can move it where I want it. Deselect, which is Command D. Actually, I'm going to go back one step. In Photoshop, You can go back one step with Command Z, just like in most other programs, but you also have a history, which allows you to go back as many steps as you want, and you can see what those steps were. So if I go back to this move step, then I can start to move this over, which, okay, I committed to it, so I have to go back further than that, go back to this transform, and if I want to center this up or do something more with it, then I need to do that before I commit. Once I hit return to commit to that transform, it's going to erase the pixels underneath it, basically. Okay, so the eyebrows are the radishes. For this one, we can use Object Select. Does a nice quick job. Go to the Move tool. Put that in place. If you want to make it larger, smaller, free transform is Command T. So I can scale that, put it where I want it. Once I hit return, I'm committing to it. Now I can clone it. So I'm still on the Move tool, Option key, click and drag, go to Edit, Transform, and I want to flip this horizontal. And then put it in its final position. Next, I'm going to work on the mouth. So again, I'm going to use the Option key. This is not going to be a circle, it's an oval, but I can still guess where the center is and then pull that oval out to fit. If I get off into the white, I'm going to end up with a white ring around my object, which is going to show. So you want to be careful to stay within the color pixels within the object that you're trying to get. If you go outside of it, you're going to see those white pixels. So Move tool, just bring that in, deselect. Okay, bow tie, object select, not going to work. So we're going to use the lasso here so you can see how that works. With the lasso tool, and I'm going to zoom in, you hold down the Option key and it'll let you, by clicking, every time you click the mouse, it's going to lay down a point and it follows behind itself. So it'll draw a line behind or between the last two points selected. If I turn on the caps lock, I get what's called a precise cursor. So I can see exactly where I'm laying down points. And so if I hold the Option key and just start drawing this out, and this is not like Photoshop, or I'm sorry, like Illustrator, where you've got Bezier curves to worry about, or as a possibility. So you're just laying down lots of points to make it more or less follow the contour. You can get into, that's annoying, Bezier curves if you want to, need to, but that's a whole nother thing, which I'm not going to go into right now. So this is a little bit tedious. You don't appreciate the Object Select tool unless you've had to do this on a regular basis. That replaced this tool for most selections that are complicated. So my screen, I jump in and out, which is annoying as heck. If I let go of the Option key, I lose my selection. So what I'm going to do is just go around this so I can at least delete everything that's selected and make it easier to come back with the object select. I don't know if you've ever had that happen to you, but when this happens to me after I've spent 10 minutes doing a lasso tool, it makes you want to scream. So again, hold down the Option key, start the other direction. And again, I'm just going to go around the outside. The last click will automatically join with your first click. So I don't necessarily have to come back and finish this. If I let go of the Option key, it'll automatically jump to that first point. Deselect. Now if I use the Object Select, it'll find that easily. And now with the Move tool, I can bring that in place. All right, so 2 more objects to get selected and moved. I'm going to get the mushroom for the hat. Object Select, Move tool, click and drag it in place. Deselect, Command D. All right, so for the ear, we want it to allow the curvature of the head of the shape to carry through. If I drag this shape, it's going to be square along inside, and it's going to be obvious that it's sitting in front. So we have to use layers to our advantage here. So initially, I'm going to select the orange, and I'm going to cut it. So Command C or Edit Cut. And now I'm going to paste it, and it'll come in on a new layer. And then Command T or Edit Free Transform. I can rotate it, bring it over, scale it, holding down the Shift key so that it doesn't get distorted. Put it relatively in place. I rotate it a little bit. Okay. Then I'm going to Option drag, hold down the Shift key so that it comes across. Edit, flip horizontal, transform, flip horizontal. And if I'm going to... Okay, so now we need to get that behind. Select your bottom layer. Use the magic wand. And select all the white. And again, this is with this layer, your layer 0, your base layer, even though these other objects are in front, they're on a different layer, so they are not going to select. So all of the white is selected. If I hit delete, that'll all go away. If I really want to get rid of this little bit, I can also select that area of white. And now, if I move the ears down below that layer 0, they appear to be behind. Although, you can see that they haven't been changed. So now, I need to clean this up. I'm going to use the horizontal or rectangular marquee and just select the area that I want to keep. And then if I go to image crop, it's going to keep just the area that's been selected. I can deselect. Now if I want to put white or any color behind that, I can put a new layer in, select all, Command A, edit select all, or I'm sorry, select all. Then whichever color you want, and in this case I'm going to use the default black and white, flip those so white's on top. Option delete allows you to fill with the foreground. So hold on the option key, hit delete, and I've got white. If I put that all the way in the bottom, that's my finished piece. So you can make it look however you like, adjust elements if you like, but save that, same as other formats or same as our previous exercises. PS underscore EX1 underscore first initial last name, and save it as a Photoshop format. So you're going to end up with .psd. That's going to be the native or default Photoshop format. PSDs preserve the layers. Other formats, JPEG, things like that, PNG, you're going to lose all your layers. So if you're saving a master, you definitely want to save it as a .psd. And if you're going to make a new folder and keep it in, so then you're going to submit that file in Blackboard.